Welcome pilots, my name is Hybrid V and I'm here in 3.17 PTU flying the beautiful Hull A as I come in for landing on Besdik to grab some Laranite. Now, undoubtedly you've probably heard of the absolute nightmare this patch has been so far, mostly for performance issues. You'll notice that a lot of people have talked about the performance being all over the place. Streaming asset seems to be sometimes non-existent. You'll spawn a ship, it doesn't spawn. Sometimes there'll be missing assets like actual landing locations just missing from the game, and a whole load of performance issues. But for the most part, it seems like it's slowly coming together now, and it's mostly server-related stability issues and just general polish at this point. So it's looking good. Okay, let's go ahead and go into first person and extend the cargo spindle because we need to accept cargo. That animation never gets old, and it makes me super excited to see the bigger Hull series come out. Indeed, I've been waiting for the Hull series to come into Star Citizen for years now. Alright, let's go ahead and bring gear down. Gears extended. Bring it down nice and gentle. Smooth as butter. And down. Alright, engines off. Let's go ahead and buy some cargo, shall we? But yeah, needless to say, the PTU has not exactly been the smoothest lately, but again, it is the PTU. It is where we do the testing, and CIG comes in and looks at the data, looks at our feedback, and adjusts accordingly. And of course, as a testament to the progress they have been making, I'm playing, which was not really that possible the last couple of days because of the issues I had mentioned before. Luckily, CIG have been hammering away at it, and it's been handling pretty well now. It's been pretty good. Man, I love the updated MISC design language. I love the square thrusters in the back rather than the round ones we've been getting for a long time, so it's just a nice, different departure from what they've had before. Anyway, let's go grab some cargo, shall we? Be right back. Alright, cargo is indeed loaded up now, full of Laranite, and as you've noticed, if you're not familiar with the Hull series, cargo is attached to the exterior, which is why I extended those spindles. And those gravity tethers are there to hold the boxes in place. It's a little strange than what we're used to because we're used to just putting boxes inside of a ship, and the Hull series carries it on the exterior. And it's just, it doesn't feel intuitive because I feel like the boxes are just going to fall off. They're just gravity tethers, but hey, they held on. I haven't actually tested it in combat. I've heard that actually the boxes can be shot off or parts of it can be damaged. So that's very, very interesting. One other cool thing to note is if I open the component bay here as the door closes, there's an actual component bay here for the gravity generator. So you can actually see if I move over here, there's the gravity generator right there. That can theoretically be damaged in combat or be targeted or be taken offline by a saboteur. And those boxes can just fall out into space or down to the planet below, which is really cool. I think a lot of pirates are going to target that specific part of the ship when they ever come across it and they want to steal their stuff. All right, let's go ahead and get off the ground here. Looks like we're clear. Okay, let's go ahead and start dusting here. Apply some throttle upwards. Gear up. And forward thrust. She's a little heavier now with the cargo in the back, but she still feels very, very nice. All right, full burn. Let's get out of the atmosphere and QT to our destination. All right, destination is locked in. Let's go ahead and punch it. Get on to our destination. Now, of course, 3.17 is more than just the Hull A. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that have come in. A more prominent example, of course, is the clouds on Hurston, which I did a video on recently, just showcasing it through a very cinematic format. I'll leave that video in the description. I highly recommend you check it out, because they are indeed a sight to behold. And of course, I'll leave some footage playing in the background as I'm in Quantum here to showcase some of the other sights. Overall, the visuals look stunning. I am a huge fan of them. And they, even though they only add just that visual accoutrement to the actual overall palette of, say, Hurston and, of course, Microtech we've had in the past, they just add that little extra bit to the overall aesthetic of Star Citizen, if that makes sense. Like, I'll include some extra shots in here, but like you'll see it as just like, even just as a backdrop of other things that I'm doing in the game, and it looks incredible. It adds depth and just a little bit of that extra believability, if that makes sense. Either way, it makes me really, really want CIG to put rain in already because, I mean, come on. We got clouds, give us some rain, CIG. You know you want to. Okay, dropping out of QT now here at ArcCorp. Let's go ahead and line up for Area 18 now and sell this Lair Knight. So obviously we have clouds at Microtech and now at Hurston. The next logical step, of course, is putting clouds here at ArcCorp. And I'm hoping at that point maybe we'll eventually get some rain or something like that. Because like I said, I would really love to see some real nice weather effects. We know that CIG wants to do at some point seasons, if that's something they can do within this year or not, I have no idea. It seems like it's something way down the line. I don't know if they're actually working on that because, of course, everybody's working on Squadron 42 right now, and I doubt seasons are an important factor in Squadron 42. Weather, yes. Seasons, probably not so much. But of course, other than just clouds, we also now have a river on Microtech. Just a single one so far right now. And it's called, I believe it's called the Gold River. Someone correct me on that. I thought it had a name beforehand. I'm not entirely certain. But yes, we have a river on Microtech. Takes a little bit of a journey to get to, but once you get there, the sights are really beautiful. It is really, really well done. And big shout out to the programmers who put that together, as well as the art team working in conjunction to get that really out there and looking real nice. Currently, not a whole lot of gameplay around it. You can run into the water. There's no animations or anything like that yet. You can run into it. Your spacesuit will actually keep you alive in the water, which is really, really nice. Because before, if your head went under the water in any of the oceans at Hurston, you would just die instantly. It was just the way it was designed before. It was just a kill box. Now that is no longer the case. You can actually survive. Your ships will not survive. We've tested that. Your ships won't survive going into any water. But if I recall, those are supposed to change at some point. They do have things they're working on like buoyancy and whatnot. And I believe CIG are still trying to figure out what they want to do in terms of what ships, how they behave when they're underwater. There's supposed to be a pressure simulation. So for example, if you're going to go deeper into Crusader, the gas giant, you would be affected by pressures. Your ship and hull and probably player would be affected by those pressures as they are exerted on the hull. And water would be the same system for that as well. And it would make sense that they would use the two interchangeably like that, assuming they, ever finalize what happens for ships going into the water, of course. All right, but enough about water here. Let's actually land this bird here at Area 18 Spaceport. Of course, if you've probably already heard, they added a new keybind that you can set to call ATC. I'm going to tap it here.
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
And boom, I now have a landing pad assigned to me without having to either open my mobiGlas or fiddle with the MFDs. It's those little quality of life things that matter. I don't mind personally going into the MFDs, but the MFDs are always so fidgety and it makes me want the new ones that they've been teasing us for so long. And the mobiGlas it just doesn't feel right doing it in the mobiGlas. So it is really nice that they have made that compromise for a quality of life improvement to just let us hail the ATC through a single keybind. It makes intuitive sense. All right, let's bring her in. Nice and easy. She's a lot longer now here, so I have to be careful. Luckily, they did give us a bigger pad. I don't know if the pad actually changes based on the metrics of like the ship being opened with a spindle. I don't think it does. I think it's still set. And I just happened to get a pad that was slightly bigger, which is nice because this thing can be very, very painful to try to land in first person. Indeed, just in general, because of how long it is, and it gets a little bit wider with those cargo spindles out like that and the cargo on it, so it becomes a little tricky to manage. Okay, let's go ahead and gear down. I'm a little skewed here, so let's go ahead and strafe off to the side. Kind of just matching with my shadow here and making sure I'm slightly more centered. There we go. Let's bring her down now. Bam. I really like how they tuned the hydraulics on the ship. It's actually a lot more smoother than most ships I've flown before in the past. It overall just feels really, really nice. And it doesn't feel super snappy or weird, like, for example, the Nomad, how it snaps all over the place, or other ships where they kind of feel like they're really bouncy and you're on jello. The ship just feels very, very smooth and dialed in. All right, let's go sell. Another update that came in 3.17 is the coffee kiosk vendor, and I'm hoping that they work. It's a woman this time. Sometimes it's a guy.
Sorry. I'll be with you momentarily.
Okay, so this is the problem I was having before, and it seems like she is stuck in her idle animation and she does not want to do anything. All she really does is she serves you soda, juice, or coffee, and she has her custom bespoke animations that go with that. And right now she's just not working, unfortunately. And sometimes, like I said, it's a guy, sometimes it's a lady. Yeah, for whatever reason, there's just this issue where she just does not want to get out of her idle animation currently, which is unfortunate because the animations are really, really good. I quite like how it's handled.
Yeah, I see you.
Yep, she's not working. That's unfortunate. All right, well, let's move on. But before I go, let me turn on the session ID information here for CIG, in case they watch this video. It can at least identify the issue that's going on here, and I guess I will just self-serve my own drink here, because my character's a little bit parched. And yeah, let's continue on our journey. One of the other things, let's go ahead and turn that off real quick, because I don't need it anymore. Heading down over here, I'm going to grab a drink real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and take off my helmet. And this is just to show off the character that I'm playing as. This is a random generated character that I just made and changed the hair and I think the skin tone a little bit. But yeah, she looks fantastic. Some people were complaining that the characters don't look that great. I think that they don't understand how lighting works. Because as I move over here in the lighting, you can see that the lighting detail is a lot better at showing off the realistic detail of my character's face. It looks much more real and much more believable. No, I think I hear players nearby in VoIP. Anyway, so I'm going to grab a drink here and top off. But yeah, the characters' faces, the way they look, the lighting matters. And they're much more realistic, and therefore you're going to want better lighting to make your character stand out. So if you feel like your character doesn't look that great, try walking out into the light, see if that helps. And of course, you can always go back to the character creator and adjust, because there's so much more variety.
Looking for something to toss over there.
Ah, okay, so it looks like the area has like some viz area issues or something like that. Yeah, there's like some weird missing segments here.
There's someone over there.
Oh, they see me. Okay. I think they're afraid that they're gonna fall through the world because because it looks like it's missing, but you can just walk through. It's a weird, I don't know, streaming issue or viz area issue. I forgot what the proper term for it is, but yep, these are just the little polish issues that we have in the PTU.
I jumped over to the other side, guys.
Yep, they thought they were going to fall to their doom if they just went through here. They didn't realize they can just continue to walk through. Well, hey, I'm glad I can help, fellas. I don't have VoIP setups, guys. Sorry, I can't talk to you. But moving on anyway, perhaps next time. So another improvement that came in this recent update was the changes to positional desync for ships, which has been a huge godsend to both the PvP and just general dogfighting community. I think just in general, it's just a huge quality of life improvement for everyone in the verse. And if you're not familiar with this already, desync in Star Citizen is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of issues happen when you're flying, for example, close to another player or another AI or something like that, and you'll be not anywhere near them and you'll just explode and crash, or you'll be dogfighting another player and he'll be shooting in one direction and your shields are going down despite the fact that you're looking in a completely opposite direction. And that is called positional desync. CIG has included some improvements to help fix some of the positional desync offsets that have been happening in the verse, and it is incredible. It's hard for me to put into words, so I'll splice some footage in here for you to see it. Now we can do things like formation flying. Flying behind your buddy in the verse was a death sentence in the past. Now we can actually fly behind each other, we can fly in formation, and we're not jittering all over the place, we're not, phantom blowing each other up out of nowhere. It actually feels like we can fly as a group, and when we dogfight, the dogfighting feels much more natural because now we can actually pay attention to the nose position of our opponent and actually act accordingly, whereas before, your nose position of your opponent would be somewhere completely different and you'd think you're in a safe spot, and then all of a sudden your shields are down and all of a sudden you blew up. So these were things that were just so irritating for us, especially who do PvP or any type of combat. But in general, it was just a big irritant for a lot of people, and I'm so happy that CIG got around to improving that. And I hope that their next step is to then work on player in FPS combat, the positional desync with that, because that is all over the place as well. But the ship improvements for that is incredible, and I'm super happy that they got around to improving that, because it is a huge quality of life improvement, and we've been waiting for this for a long time. And thank you to the engineers that made this fix. It is not exactly the easiest fix in the world. I know some people will like to go onto Spectrum and make armchair development comments about how easy it actually is to fix these problems. This is something that requires a lot of research, and it requires a lot of R&D to figure out how to best approach this. Because remember, this also has to work with server meshing down the road. So thank you to the engineers who undoubtedly imbibed a lot of caffeine to get us to this point. And of course, QA, you guys are awesome as well. This fix was a long time coming, so if you haven't already guessed, I'm very excited for it. And I am very excited for all of you who have not tried 3.17 yet to get your hands on it and try it yourself. Another feature that has come in recently that has been actually a bit of a sleeper hit, I think it's because most of the community was not aware of how in-depth this was going to be, and that is refueling. Indeed, refueling, everybody thought it was just going to be a simple, you dock with your ship and then you just refuel, but CAG has gone above and beyond that as usual and created a much more in-depth system in terms of how you can control, for example, pricing of selling fuel to the person who is taking on fuel. There is a wide variety of ships that can refuel, and also the pilot of the Starfarer, because right now currently the Starfarer is the only ship that can refuel other ships. The Starfarer has the ability to have its components for its fuel systems swapped out. So you can swap out fuel pods, you can swap out different nozzles, as well as having someone on board, whether it's the pilot or another crew member on board, to alter the flow rates and also alter the pricing. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with it. It's a lot more in depth than people were initially expecting. CAG talked about it quite a bit, but they did not really elaborate on how in-depth it was going to be. They said, yeah, we're going to try to include some kind of skill component and, add a little few things here or there. But what they've added now is probably, for me at least, exceeded my expectations. And it's actually quite good. It's a lot of fun. Now, I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, I don't really see what the point of having refueling in the game is when there's so many dang stations I can just quickly refuel at. Why would I need another player to refuel me? Well, the reason for that is, well, of course, you could probably get a better deal on your refueling if there's another player providing that. But beyond that, of course, we have to remember that Pyro is coming in. So the Stanton system is incredibly well developed in terms of its infrastructure, which is why we have so many stations. The Pyro system that's coming in is not. It is a lawless frontier, and therefore, Starfarer pilots will be worth their weight in gold out there. They will be super useful, not just to other players, but also to organizations who are going to be operating in that sector. Okay, so I've sold my Laranite. Let's go and buy ourselves something nice. Here is the new terminals that are coming into the patch for the new buying and selling mechanics. As you can see, it's using the new building blocks interface. Still some teething issues here and there. It's mostly polished, but you can do things like normal. You can buy individual items here and there. You can also quick buy items, which is really, really useful if you just want to buy one. You don't want to have to go through the interface and figure out how many you want to buy. You can just buy them very, very rapidly like that. And then, of course, if you do the normal buy menu, you can actually type in now how many you actually want to buy, whereas before you had to push the plus button and just spam that over and over until you got the value that you wanted. So it's a nice change there, and as well as it's it feels a lot more streamlined. It just feels better. And of course, you have the ability to sell items directly to the shop as well. You can sell them either directly from your character's armor or backpacks, or you can sell them from the location that you're currently on. You cannot buy or sell anything directly from a ship that is docked or in the station at all yet currently. CAG have said that that is coming later, so looking forward to that. There's a lot more I could talk about when it comes to the kiosks and just the inventory system in general. Of course, one of the main things that is a big change in this patch is that you can actually move components and weapons that belong to ships on actual ships now, so you don't have to buy the components at that station or landing zone, and you have to then physically fly ships to that landing zone in order to attach those weapons and components. You can instead now put them, like, for example, on a cargo vessel and ship them to whatever location you'd like, which is really nice because if you have a setup like mine, for example, I love to centralize all my ship weapons and components as to the best ability I can. I can then take ship weapons, components, put them on, say, for example, my Freelancer, fly it to CRU-L1 or Everest Harbor, dump it off there, fly off to another station and buy more weapons and components for my ships, put them on there, take them back to Everest Harbor or wherever I need to be, which is a really nice system in comparison to how it was before. Another change that is coming, which is more of an, I guess you could say, balance and also aesthetic change, is the improvements to first-person shooter combat. More specifically, weapons and animations have been tweaked and have their balance adjusted. So things like, for example, the C-54, which was previously nerfed, it used to be king, has been improved to be, well, it's quite good again. I wouldn't say it's king just yet. That is reserved for the Karna, which had its fire rate bumped up. Fantastic weapon. The sniper rifles seem to have gotten a little bit of a more improvement. I don't know if it's a network thing or not. They feel a lot better. It's hard to say. Their scopes still suck, but they definitely feel a lot better. The Gallant Rifle is no longer fully automatic. It's now a burst rifle, closer to like the Lumen, so it gives it some more character there, which is a really cool change. Numerous other stuff that I probably haven't covered yet here because there's just so many changes they did. The other improvements, of course, were animations. They feel a lot more fluid and natural. Me and my org mates spent a fair amount of time testing these out in Star Marine, which works now, which is phenomenal, because Star Marine is an excellent platform for testing FPS weapons. Even at one point accidentally getting myself into a big firefight with Salty Mike and his stream, because he popped in with a bunch of his viewers and I did not know, and it was just an instant fight, which was a blast, mind you, because Star Marine actually works, and these new improvements are actually quite good. Other improvements for FPS combat, of course, has been the medical changes. It's now less likely that you're going to be killed instantly, unless, of course, you take a P6 to the head. But for the most part, getting downed is going to be a lot more common, and injuries are going to be more common, so which is a good improvement. I do like the idea that players going down are going to be a more common sight, so you can revive players out either in the verse, just out in the wild, or if you're as part of a team, whether you're going against AI or other players, there's chances that you can actually triage players on the ground and get them back into the fight, which is a lot better because when you're doing these type of missions or types of player versus player actions, it's kind of boring just to immediately die unless you get coup de grace. So it's nice that you can actually do something about that for once. All right, the last feature I wanted to talk about for the patch coming in 3.17 is the mining gadgets, and I'm over here at CRUL1 because I need to grab my prospector. We're going to go ahead and head out into the Aaron Halo belt and see if we can find some nice rocks to mine that may give my prospector some trouble. So let's go ahead and set down and swap ships here. Okay, so I'm here in the Aaron Halo belt looking for, well, let's try to find some Quantanium, the most lucrative source of material for making profit out here in the black. So let's go ahead and start scanning. Now, currently in the build that I'm playing right now, it might change in later patches and of course when it goes live. Currently right now, some rocks are not 100% scannable, so I may come across some rocks that I want to mine, but unfortunately you can't interact with them in any way, you can't mine them. They are physicalized and whatnot, but you just can't do anything with them. So this may take me a little bit, so I'm going to probably insert a cut here and bring it back once I have found a rock that is suitable for showing off a couple of these mining gadgets. Okay, I found some suitable rocks here. This one has Quantanium. It's about 4,600 mass, which should be perfect. I have a Helix on here, which puts out enough power, but I don't have a Surge. The other rocks in this cluster are about 5,000 mass, which is a little bit much for my Helix. Full power to the rock here to see how I can crack it here and just kind of feel it out a little bit. Now I'm applying power, but you can see the power is very inconsistent. It jumps up, it jumps down, right? And that's because the rock's instability is pretty high. Now, I did bring a Brant module on my Helix, so I can bring the instability down. So that makes it quite simple and easy to handle. It does, of course, reduce my optimal charge window. However, alternatively, instead, I could go ahead and use one of my mining gadgets that I have bought at the refinery. So I brought a few mining gadgets here, and after reading a few of the buffs and debuffs, I decided I'm going to go ahead and grab this Optimax here. So let's go ahead and exit the ship now. Now, each one has their own buffs and weaknesses that are attached to the rock as you are mining it. In this case, the Optimax has, I believe, about a minus 20% reduction in instability. It also, I believe, increases the optimal window a little bit, which is perfect for what we're going to do here. So let's pull it out. I'm going to go ahead and attach it to the rock by left click and hold. There's the little hollow view for it. It is now attached. It is now analyzing. And now once it's done analyzing, we need to then go ahead and start changing some of these parameters here to kind of line it up with the waveform that you see in that image there. Also on the right hand side, you'll see it says waveform accuracy, and it has a percentage on there. And I want to try to get that as high as I can, at least in the high to mid 90s, or even 100% if I can. I'm not going to spend too much time on here, but I'm just going to go ahead and adjust these parameters slightly here. Getting a little bit closer there. It is a little bit fidgety, especially in EVA, because in EVA you are kind of breathing and moving around, so it can be a little bit tricky. Okay, 95. Let's go ahead and activate. There we go, it's active. And you can see the buffs and debuffs that it actually applies on here. So you can see that it adds some of the optimal window range, it reduces instability. It has a whole slew of things that it can do on there, and this one seems to work well for what I want to do. So let's go ahead and head back in and try to mine this rock. Now, of course, some of you may be looking at this and going, you don't really need these gadgets. As long as you have the right mining head and you have the right consumables, you can mine whatever rock you probably want. True. However, the great thing about these gadgets is they offer a lot more flexibility for the user. I personally like them. I do like the idea of just having to be more involved in the mining process. Okay, so the mining head is out. You can see that there's an icon on the bottom center now that is telling me that I have an Optimax actually attached to the actual rock itself. And now it is applying the buffs, or at least it should be. I know that right now, currently in this build, the buffs don't necessarily update properly. It takes a moment or two for the server to catch up. And I'm not seeing it updating. Let's go ahead and rotate away and pull back with the laser on. Let's see if it does the rescan. It should. I'm going to go ahead and apply power anyway. I'm not sure if the buff is being applied. I'm going to also go ahead and chuck a Brant in there because why not? Okay. Brant is out. Okay, the effects currently are not changing. And again, I think this is just the server back installing here. I'm not seeing too much of a change. There should be a change on the right-hand side there. I do see the resistance is slightly adjusted. But the instability seems to be the same. Just going to go ahead and attempt to mine it anyway. It should... There we go. There's the rescan. And, okay, cool. So now you see the instability of the Optimax and the resistance has also been adjusted accordingly. So, and I have run a Brant, so I have a massive reduction in instability. A small debuff in my optimal window, but my Optimax that I applied to it, it has a buff to the optimal window, so I kind of negated that a little bit. So now I have some room to work with. Now, this still is going to take some time to apply. I don't have a surge module on here, so I'm not going to be able to apply additional power just instantly. This is going to take time, so I'm going to go ahead and jump cut to when I actually smash this rock. Okay, I am about to break this rock now, and success. Now, if you see on the top center there, my Optimax is actually floating out in space. You have to be very careful. If you do even slightly overcharge your rock, even just a tiny bit of red while you crack the rock, you can send that little tiny module flying, and that's a lot of money going out the window. You don't want to lose it, so you have to be very careful. There is a risk to bringing these guys. You can potentially destroy them if you have a catastrophic overload, or you could just shoot it off into space if you have, like I said, a small amount of overcharge. Okay, let's go ahead and float on over. And there it is. And it's quite simple. You just go ahead and hold the interaction key when you get close to it. Select grab. There you go. And now I have it in my position again, ready to be used. And I can just holster it, and it's ready to go for the next rock. Now I'm going to go ahead and start working on these smaller rocks because I don't need the Optimax anymore. All right, last rock for the day. And that pretty much concludes my small little overview of 3.17. By the time you've watched this video, the patch probably has gone to the wider PTU, hopefully, and you guys will be able to enjoy yourselves, or if you're more patient, you'll just have to wait for it to go live. Alright folks, that's it for me today. I hope you did enjoy this video, and if you did, please leave a like as it really does help out smaller channels like myself, and of course, leave a comment if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just want to know about the meaning of the universe. And last but not least, if you want to see more of my videos, subscribe. Until next time, fly safe, and I'll see you all in the black.